For over 5 years, we've uncovered countless historic treasures right here in Huntington Beach. Stories, artifacts, and of course, the incredible people who have shaped this city into what it is today. Now, as we kick off Season 7, our excitement is at an all-time high as we dive deeper to discover what other fascinating stories are waiting to be told. I'm Chris Epting, and this is Hidden Huntington Beach. Welcome to the storied Newland House, where history thrives in the heart of Huntington Beach. At one time spanning over 500 acres, this remarkable former ranch was known for its vegetable gardens, orchards, and a menagerie of farm animals, including pet peacocks. Established in 1898 by William Taylor Newland and Mary Juanita DeLapp Newland, the Newland House was recognized for its significance and listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1985. Utilized by Signal Oil and Gas after Mary's passing in 1952, the ranch was nearly lost to development plans for an oil refinery, which were thankfully abandoned due to community objections. After years of dedicated preservation efforts, the Newland House opened for public tours in 1978 as a cherished local landmark supported by the Huntington Beach Historical Society. Today, we celebrate not just the legacy of the Newlands, but the spirit of community that preserved their home. Join us today on Hidden Huntington Beach as we welcome 3 generations of Newlands.
I am Teddy Tate, great-granddaughter of William and Mary Newland.
So, where you live today, this is kind of like a modern-day Newland House because you're surrounded by old paintings and artifacts and original
Right.
basket
History.
and great photos. I mean, you've got these. Tell us a little bit about just.
So this is a Mr. and Mrs. and it's like I couldn't find out who they were, but
Who's
this was my mother,
And what year? That's
1921.
And your mom would have lived where in Huntington Beach?
They lived on 8th Street, I believe, in the little house on 8th Street.
You know if the house is still there?
I don't.
So,
Now my cousin would because he knows the.
but she would have spent a lot of time at the Newland House, obviously, right?
Oh yeah, she was raised there.
Wow. When did you first go to the house? Do you remember?
Probably when I was born, because I was born in Long Beach.
Do you have any memories as a young girl at that house? And if you had to describe the surrounding area, what would that have been like in the 1940s? I imagine it wasn't much of
So
anything.
I was born in 46. And so my first memories would have been my dad was in the Air Force and we were stationed at March Air Force Base in Riverside. So at that time, we came every single weekend. We would come down here to the Newland House.
And what was it like?
It was just the big, majestic house, and we could see it from Orange. And as soon as we could see it as we're driving, whoever saw it first got a quarter or probably a penny then. And we'd sing, I see Grandma Newland's house. I see Grandma New's house. We called her Grandma New.
And what were they like? What do you remember?
I don't remember him at all, just my grandmother. And so she was great-grandmother, and she was quite old. And she had the bluest eyes that could just see right through you. And she was always poking my cousin and I with her cane because we were doing something wrong. But I just remembered that part of her.
And it's surrounded by farmland back then. Do you remember
Right.
that? Are those fields you would have wandered as a kid?
Oh, yeah. And I even would go down into the gum groves. Do you know what the gum groves are?
No. Tell us.
Down below the hill, the gum groves, which are eucalyptus trees. And my dad would take us down there and teach us how to shoot. We had cans and bottles and
Oh, no
everything.
kidding.
Yeah.
Like a whole
And
other
they
era.
still had an outhouse out there when I was growing up.
So you
In
would
fact, there were 2
you would have come
outhouses.
down with today's Beach Boulevard, Highway 39. That would have been the main road in.
No, Newport Boulevard, we'd come down.
Oh.
It was like a 2-lane highway or road.
And okay, the baskets. What do you remember about the baskets?
The baskets were always kept in a large, it looked like a coffin. glass on all 1, 2, 3, 4 sides and the top. And then she had little teeny baskets hung in there, and then all these other baskets. And then in the sun porch was a cupboard that was just filled with glass cupboard filled with baskets.
And would you go to the house as a teenager? Would this go on? Because they lived there. I mean, it was in the family till the early 1970s.
Till I was like 15.
Yeah. You,
My cousin and I were always looking for the key to the basket, to the collection, to get them out and play with them or whatever. Because we played there, and we were always looking for the key to the attic. We never did find it.
but you would go up there.
Oh yeah, we tried everything to get into, and the barn was still there when I was growing up.
Because there's a barn there today. If you don't know, that barn is not original. That was replaced later.
And they were supposed to make it look like the original.
What do you remember of the original barn? There's so few photos of it. I think we've got
It's just it was a huge red barn, exactly what you would think a farm barn should be.
Do you
With
remember?
stalls and stuff and hay. And,
Well, do you remember there being animals and what they were growing there? What do you have any specific
no,
recollections?
I
of
only
the farm?
remember chicken.
And then what do you remember happening in terms of saving the house? Because the house, once the family moves out, late 60s, early 70s, it falls into some disrepair, right? And there's questions about whether or not it's even going to survive any kind of preservation. Do you remember what that was like to keep the house? And
I just remember that would have been about the time I got married and had Truly, and so I wasn't really involved, but my mother was super involved because of the lease that my aunts and uncles, all of a sudden this Signal Oil is giving them this giant, huge sum of money, which they all grew up on a farm. They never had any money. And they all bought a house, they all bought a Cadillac, they all, they all moved on. And I can just remember my mother crying and my grandmother crying and saying, what can we do? We have to save the house. We just have to save this house. And so finally, I kind of think they started the Historical Society so they could say that they got it on the registry. And so that's why they were able to save it, because the city bought it for $1.
right, right.
And then they were supposed to build that shopping center to look like the Newland House, which money talks. And so,
Didn't really look like that.
no, not at all.
Talk about what you have today in your house. What artifacts you managed to hold on to. You've got paintings on the wall. What do you know about those?
Those are the D-Laps, great-grandmother Newland's parents and great-grandfather Newland's parents.
And those would have been painted, obviously, before they came to Huntington Beach.
I imagine they came with them.
And then you've got, as well, I think my favorite artifact. Talk about
Mine too.
Talk about the dress and the story behind it.
My aunt, Bernice, she was the youngest, and so she wore, and I don't know how they got away with it, but they made this flag into a dress for her to wear in the 4th of July parade.
About when would it have been?
I would have said probably 1905, maybe 6, because it's not very big.
No. And she would have been, the gal who wore it, she would have been exactly.
She was the youngest
of the new ones.
of the Newlands.
And you've got that here today. How long have you had that here? I mean, was that like in the house originally? How did you come?
Well, when my mother found it, she had it, and then my mom said, we need to frame that. So it was always over my aunt's bed. And then when she passed away, it went somewhere because she had a son, and he never married, so there weren't any
Right.
relatives or whatever. And the fellow who inherited it knocked on my door like a Christmas Day or whatever and handed it to me.
Now, talk about the silver that you've got on display over there.
My grandmother always told me that, well, on the vase, my grandmother always told me that it's engraved, so it was the 25th wedding anniversary gift of Mary and William Newland. And the coffee pot, I think those were all silver wedding anniversary gifts.
Now, I'll ask all three of you, when you go by the Newland House today, when you see it, what are the memories that you have? Are they, I imagine they're very fond.
I get so sad. I get sad because it's so run down still. And it hasn't been kept up. You know, it's like we need money. And I'm bad because I haven't stayed involved with it. I was involved with my mother because we were redecorating it, and we were trying to, you know, get money to fix it up. And it's not as big. I used to think it was huge
Yeah, it's really not.
because it was a farm and a barn and this big
How
house.
many acres did they have?
I believe it was 600. And he came and bought it from the Spaniards. It was a Spanish land grant.
Right, right. And back when the house was put there was really nothing else around in the late 1800s. That was
No.
basically it in the area. So when you look at it today, you'd like to see it sort of return to maybe what you remember.
I'd like to see it painted and
Yeah.
because so many it's amazing how many people in Huntington Beach don't even know anything about it.
Yeah. Well, they know the Newland House, but not necessarily the story of the
Well, they
family.
don't even know where the Newland House is. I go, what?
We'll fix that now. Well, it's funny when you drive by it today, it is sort of surrounded by a lot of things now. And I imagine your memories, your daughter's
It was
memories.
there by itself.
Yeah, it was a lot of open space. So the more that gets encroached around it, it gets easier to miss. But we can fix that with your storytelling of these artifacts and things. So, well, thank you for talking about these memories and letting us into your home and seeing things like this.
This was a
basket.
This was a basket of Bernice's, the youngest daughter.
Yeah, and you've got it today. And again, there were some over at the Bowers Museum.
Yeah, there's several over
And
there.
by the way, before we leave, when you were young and you were there early, would you ever dig around? I'm always curious about
Oh, we'd
artifacts.
always find, my cousin and I would always find arrowheads
You were.
and tons of shells. But that's because the Indians were there and then the Spaniards came.
Yeah.
So,
And the shells were the midden, basically almost the waste heaps of when they would bring the shells.
yeah,
up.
it was the waste from, you know, the water came right, so they figured the water came right up close.
Yeah, but you would find arrowheads up there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing part of your family legacy life here with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Truly Gold Boring, and I'm a great-great-granddaughter of the Newlands.
So before we get into too much, you've got this, I want to try and help facilitate this dream that you've got to get the family back in the Newland House.
Yes.
Tell me what you're thinking.
So since I was a little girl, my mom always talked about she would spend Christmas at the Newland House. And so Christmas Eve, the kids all slept up in, it's not necessarily the attic, but it's all set up, you know, like that. And so we've always wanted to take my mom back with my sister and I and all of the grandkids and have Christmas Eve in the house.
Can I go too? Because I'll work it, but you got to let me in as well.
You're gonna make cookies with us, do whatever you want, but yes.
The Newland House in Huntington Beach is probably, arguably, the most famous structure. Whether you grew up here or not, everybody knows it. And to be attached to it, to have your family attached to it. What was it like? When did you first become aware that you were a Newland?
I think very early. We will talk about it, but I was kindergarten probably.
And what
Yeah.
happened? You go to the house, like
We would
how
go.
often would you, because the Newlands still live at the Newland House.
Yeah, back then the house was all that was there. It was nothing but fields and dirt road off of Beach Boulevard to the house.
This is like the early 1970s.
Early 70s, 74, 75. And my mom or my grandmother would pick me up from school and we would drive to the Newland House, and that's when it was being renovated. And I spent most days after school there while they were making it look like it is today.
Did you see many of these baskets in the house? Were those still there?
I think the baskets were in the house. I know that I'm not sure what year the Bowers took a lot of baskets and things like that, but a lot of artifacts, a lot of furniture was being placed in the house at that time.
What do
'cause
you
it
know
was pretty
about these?
run
Because
down.
even to be holding one of these now, to me, is really special.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn about these growing up? What was it about the baskets? What was the story behind them?
The story behind the baskets was that my great-great-grandmother and great-grandmother were very involved in the Indian community. They would teach them how to plant and teach them schooling, and a lot of it was in trade and appreciation for their hospitality.
There was a lot of Native American culture still in the area at that time. And these become really important. Again, I don't know if they're on display at the Bowers now. Some were stolen, I guess. which we'll hear more about later. But just to have one, the fact that you've got one here really is an important kind of local Huntington Beach artifact.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, did your friends know about your connection to the Newland family? Did it matter? Did teachers know? Like, what was your sense of growing up with the name?
If it came up, I would mention it. It was not something we talked about all the time. I think a lot of people, I grew up, especially in junior high and high school, people thought the house was haunted.
Yeah.
And I would say, that's not haunted, that's my grandparents' house, you know? So that was kind of like, to me, it was a very special place. My mom still called it the ranch or the farm. To us, it wasn't, you know, the Newland House. So, so it was just a really special location. I took a lot of pride in it.
And you knew your grandmother well. Your grandmother was born in 1901.
My great-grandmother was born in 1901.
Your
and
grandmother in the 1920s or so.
we spent a lot of time with my grandparents every weekend, sometimes every day after school. They were both local, lived in Newport Beach and Huntington Beach. And so we were very close. We knew all the stories and took her to the beauty parlor every Wednesday and went to Coco's after for lunch every Wednesday to get her hair done. So we were very close with my grandparents.
In terms of Huntington Beach names, there's Talbert, there's Slater, there's Gothard, but Newland's really the one. It's really at the top of the list for a lot of people, probably because of the house. Do you still go there today, or do you have any connection with it? Do you pass by it much? Because I've got to believe that's got to still be a big part of your memories growing up.
Yeah,
today.
I like to pass it. It makes me a little sad what's built all around it because it was so, it seemed so much bigger and substantial when it sort of sat alone sort of on that hill. And now there's, shopping center and a bank in front of it and the schoolyard and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I can't drive down that street without not looking at it and seeing it and knowing that it's part of who I am.
Now, you were telling me off camera that as a young girl, you would sit there, you would kind of dig on the property because that was one of, by all accounts, one of the most culturally rich pieces of property given the layers of Native American history. What would you find sitting there digging? I
mean, mostly rocks and shells, lots of shells. I would always be looking for arrowheads and stuff. But I was little, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the house was very run down at that time. I remember the steps being crickety and having to sort of be careful.
Who was living in it at that point?
No one was living in it.
So that's when it was abandoned before the historic push to preserve it.
It's when when the preservation was going on. Yeah, my grandmother or my mom was hanging wallpaper and picking out fabrics and deciding where furniture was going to go.
Today, when you think of the Newland name, is there a sense of pride? What do you feel in terms of Huntington Beach history? Here at your mom's, it's kind of like a Newland House in that we're going to look at a lot of artifacts that are here. What do you think when you see things like the basket, the old photos, the paintings? What does it make you think?
Again, I think it's very prideful. It's exciting. I mean, there's a street, Newland Street and Newland House. And I like to say oh, that was my grandparents' house. And to us, it was very much that, just my grandparents' house. It wasn't a historical, site. And I think we, always went to the Huntington Beach parade every single year. My sister and I were in the parade one year representing the Historical Society. And so I really like it. It's kind of cool.
I'm Timry Gold, and I'm the great-great-granddaughter of the Newlands.
So you're the baby of the family.
I am.
You probably have fewer memories early on of the Newland House.
Right.
But it still affects you. I mean, you're a painter. That's what you do. That's your life. It's your livelihood. Tell me how that connects to the Newland legacy.
Sure. So so I'm a painter. My sister as well. And my grandmother was an artist, and we're all self-taught. So we're born with it. So I've never had an art lesson before. And that's kind of allowed me to create my own style and everything. But that was just kind of always, I'm not going to say it was no big deal that we knew how to paint, but like paintings, original artwork was always a thing growing up.
Would your grandmother have been painting in the Newland House?
I believe probably so. It was more than kind of carry on the tradition of me painting in her home type of thing.
And you painted the Newland House when you were in college, right? We're going to see
did.
that. So you had some knowledge about what the house was.
Well, we always had pictures of the Newland House all around our home. So my mom would have ink drawings of the Newland House. It was always such nostalgia to us. And so I thought, I'm going to do my take on it. What's something sentimental?
You would spend Christmases at the Newland House?
Yes, so obviously now there's a strip mall, so kind of taking on to the next generation, we would go have Mexican food and then walk over to the Newland House, right there. And but Christmas is always so beautiful. It's always decorated. You get all the feelings. So that's kind of more the vision that I would see going there.
What do you think today when you go by the house? I mean, is it interesting for you to think back about these layers of history attached to your
It
family?
is. Well, now that I've got 2 boys myself and you drive down Beach Boulevard, I say, oh, that's your great grandparents' house.
How many is it? It's great.
So I'm a double great, and so yeah, it'd be great grandmother's house. And they're like, what is that? And it is kind of like my mom said. It's like, I'm not going to say it's vanishing for us, but I think after having this interview, it sparks like a light bulb to get back into it. So I'm taking this as a blessing to be like, I think it is time using, my gift to be able to create as my sisters as well, to kind of be like, I think it's time to get back in there and get involved. And I think especially with this next generation, with my boys, like this is something really special that you can be a part of too. So I think I'm definitely going to do that after this.
Have you ever, since you painted the house when you were in college, have you painted it since then?
No, I haven't.
You might be due for
I actually, I literally just thought of this. I teach paint classes.
Right.
I'm known for that.
Well, I was wondering, would this ever be an assignment, for
it
students?
could be really fun to teach a paint class at the Newland House, and we all paint the Newland House, or something iconic, Huntington Beach, or make it a series or something like that. So that could be really.
All right, so now that's got to happen, and we've got to get everyone sleeping over as well for a night. Those are the 2 missions.
Yeah, so I'll definitely do a paint class.
No, it'd be amazing. And again, it's one of those things where everybody could have their own interpretation of it, because you didn't see it when it was all farmland, but you could probably imagine that and paint
Right.
that on some level. So
Right.
we're going to hold you to that. That would be amazing.
I can do it.
to see you.
That could be my part to give back for sure.
Marie, thank you so much
You're
for sharing
welcome,
your
absolutely.
art and your family and everything today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you to my guests today for sharing such fascinating stories and artifacts related to the Newland family. It's been a wonderful journey through history. Until we meet again in our next Hidden Huntington Beach, thank you for watching.